Hey folks, you got to start really recognizing the importance of words and what they mean. If you continue to live in your own delusion that words don't have meaning, that's your own problem. And just because you think it means one thing doesn't mean that's what it means. You can believe whatever you want in cuckoo cloud land, but the reality is these words have meaning. Let's do this. Appears, to practice. In practice, you see that? That's the first thing, in practice. Well, folks, that's a clue right there for anybody with any kind of sense in their head. You practice witchcraft, you practice sorcery, you practice divination. It's in practice. To be properly before a court is a fact of or matter of which it can take notice. To be in evidence, to be proved. Making it appear and proving are the same thing. And here's the key, right? We keep talking about these presumptions and assumptions. The fact that the dead man appears and you act in the place of him, guess what happens? The presumption disappears. So when you decide to take the place of the dead entity, the presumptions, that's all out the window. Appearance is the act of appearing, coming or being in sight, being visible or clear to the apprehension of the mind. The illusions of being known as subject of observation or comprehension, or as a thing proved of being obvious, keyword right here, or what? Manifest. Yeah, that's witchcraft. Manifestation. This is the language of the dead, right? This is Babylonian, Babylon. This language has been used to bamboozle the entire world. You know, we keep waiting, and one of the things that good people keep waiting for is somebody to draw an incantation circle out in their front yard and start doing a seance. Well, it's already being done.
95% of our life is coming from the programs of life, how to live life that we get in the first 7 years of life. That's why poor people stay poor and rich people stay rich. The movie The Matrix is not science fiction. It's a documentary. Every human first 7 years is download a hypnosis. The brain of a child under 7 is in a lower vibrational frequency.
And how long have they known this information? Long enough to where the Jesuit maxim is, give me a child until 7 and I'll give you the man. That means let me imprint on the soft mind, my ideals, my beliefs, and from that point on, it doesn't matter what you do with it. That's his child. It's the same thing with this system. Very rarely do you find someone raised by this system that breaks free from it. It is the matrix. Do you understand that?
A child below 7 has a lower vibration than consciousness. It's called theta. Theta is imagination. Oh, that's how kids play a tea party with mud pies, but to them it's a real thing. A kid rides a broom, it's a horse. That's theta, imagination. Theta is also hypnosis. And the idea is this: before you can become conscious, if you don't have any programs, what are you going to be conscious of? So nature makes the first 7 years. Theta is hypnosis. You just watch. You watch your parents, you watch your siblings, and your community, because you have to learn how many 100,000 rules. Think about it. Just to be a functional member of a family and a functional member of a community.
Okay, so let's stop it right there. So we know the family unit was cause for destruction. That's why in 1933 they made it lucrative for women to leave the husband and get financial aid from the husband. The state becomes the third-party administrator. What happens in these situations when the knowledge from the past starts disappearing and we live inside the box? What is the basis of knowledge? He just said it, nature. So the first thing we do, we take that soft mind and we tell him he's a monkey fish frog. We tell him he comes from the family of apes, that nothing decided to expand and blow up into something. An explosion, out of chaos came order. And then we take him in school and we teach him all these nonsensical ideas about life. And then the very first thing he does, you're on a farm, Neo, you got to pay us to live here, and these things are normal. So the very first thing you do is take away real knowledge from the child.
First 7 years, they observe it and just download it. Look, this is not new. I mean, there's the famous book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And basically said you come from a poor family and you could struggle your whole life and try to get rich, but you're not going to make it. And if you come from a rich family, you could be stupid your whole life and make it. Not because it was thinking, but it was unconscious behavior that was downloaded from rich families into kids.
So let's get into the context. The subtleness of the adversary. So you don't know who you are, is what happens. What makes wisdom, folks? Well, we know it's the application of knowledge, right? But it's also more than that, accumulated life experience. So what happens today? The parents go shove their kids in a cocoon. They never get to fail. They never get to do the heartaches of life. They never fail. What happens when that child meets some resistance in the real world? They can't deal with it. They don't know how to persevere. They've never been outside the cocoon. And it is life experience, failures, accomplishments with knowledge that leads to wisdom. Accumulated life experience along with knowledge, good information, or even bad information. Yeah, how would I know to be scared of something or the fight-flight response to come in if I've never been in that situation? You don't have the experience. You keep a kid inside all the time and he walks outside by a pygmy rattlesnake and just goes and picks it up. Well, he don't know. This is why the line of thought's going here, folks. Real knowledge equates to wisdom. Life experience plus bad knowledge equates to the matrix, the illusions. If your whole life has been watching this TV and you think there's aliens out in space, that men have walked on the moon, that your president is a duly elected man, if your government is true, if you believe all these illusions that have been set up for you, if you believe that the war in the Middle East is about freedom, if you believe that the war on terror is about freedom, if you believe 9/11, 2 planes brought down three buildings, all these things that have happened, you live in the land of what? Illusions. If you live in the land of illusions, how can you have any foundation of knowledge? It's utterly impossible. What you're going to be is a good piece of chattel on the farm, a domesticated tax slave. Let us expound on this just a little. Jesuit maxim, give me the mind of a child until 7 and I will give you the man. The foundations for a child's life is built until 7. What you have made normal for those children will be normal for the rest of their lives. If you allow the TV to program their minds, and let's think about these things, and the more I think about it, the adversary is raising your children instead of you. This comes in seemingly innocent packages, and you really don't recognize it until you get a little bit wiser. Animals talking, evolution, toys everywhere, materialism. And if left unchecked and the children enter the public schools, you have an entire population of men and women living in alternate reality. It's smoke and mirrors. Their whole world, their entire reality is built on the reality of what? To go to work, make money, buy a house, live in debt the rest of your life, and you get retired at 75 years old. Not real knowledge, but the knowledge given to you from the smoke and mirror world. They have no basis. This whole generation, the last few generations, even my generation, even back to the baby boomers is when this started. We've lost our moral compass. There's no morality. There's no hard lines of what right and wrong is. And when you start wavering on these things, well, guess what? Now you got little boys with the penises getting chopped off saying they're unicorns. Who are we versus what we are told? This is one of those things, guys, that when you start recognizing who you are and your place in this world, will you stop worrying about the other things? You're not a monkey, fish, frog, folks. We haven't landed on the moon. I just showed y'all the other day Christopher Columbus didn't discover America. Heck, the kids in 1885 knew that. What happened to the real history? What happened to real knowledge? Jews aren't Israelites. Schools are for fish and mason jars. Education is indoctrination. We do not have a de jure government, but rather a de facto corporation operating in the foreign city nation state of Colombia. Food is medicine and medicine is food, and yet Big Pharma is a business. But there's absolutely no way of knowing any of this without first breaking the chains of bondage around our necks. When our accumulated life experiences are based on the reality, illusions, in which we have been presented, we can never have any knowledge that leads to wisdom. We are mere chattel, domesticated drones. For you to go make something, to build something is what? It's an expense of energy. It's an expense of your mind, your soul, and your spirit. It's taxed. You're getting taxed for life, for living. When this thought process starts happening in enough people to where they see it for what it is, they'll understand why I'm so belligerent towards this system. When you understand and recognize who you are and what you are, guess what? They have no power or authority over you anymore. The only threats that can come is physical threats. Matthew 13:18. Hear you therefore the parable of the sower. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understandeth it not, Then cometh the wicked one. Now everybody would focus on that. The wicked one, Satan, and catcheth away that which was sown in whose heart? His heart. This is which received the seed by the wayside. But he that received the seed in the stony place is the same as he that heareth the word, and anon with joy receiveth it. Yet hath he no root in himself, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended. He also that receives seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choketh the word, and become unfruitful. Do y'all see Satan in here anywhere? Or do you maybe start figuring out that you're the adversary? If we're fallen, that means we're adversarial to the Father. The wicked one, Proverbs 4:14, enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not the way of evil men. Jeremiah 17:9, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? How many times have we read Matthew 13 and we didn't pay attention to the simplicity of the scriptures? How many times have you read that and didn't focus on who had the problem, who was adversarial, who wasn't taking the good seed? Our worldview and religious indoctrination stop us from seeing the truth. Even when staring us right in the face, we get pulled away by seeing words like devil, which means diablos, information, knowledge, Satan, which means what? Adversarial. But forget that we are adversarial to Yahuwah and the path, the way, set forth through Yahushua. We have choices our entire lives. Let's break this down. You have the choice to do it your own way, or you can say, hey, you know what? I know you're the creator. I submit to you. And then whose way are you doing it? His way. Choices do what we want, or submission to the will of the Most High. So let me ask a question. Who exactly did Yahushua come to save you from? But ourselves. So when you're born again, you shed the what man? The old man. Matthew 13:23. But he that received the good seed, received the seed into the good ground, is he that heareth the word and understandeth it, which also beareth fruit. What's fruit, folks? Action, deeds. So what good is the fruit if you keep it to yourself? Everybody's given a different gift. Some are given the gift to gab, to talk, lead. Others can do all their work in the background. But the fruit is still visible and bringeth forth, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. Each has their own gift. Everyone is at their own level of recognition of truth. But the fruit, our actions, our deeds, everybody should be growing. Not only see, but recognize. Do you understand the difference between seeing and recognition, or grasping? Because we can see the smoke and mirrors all the time. Does that make it real? Or has it been realized? It's the process of making something real. That's what the word realize means. It's the process of making it real within your mind. With wisdom, what starts happening? We start dealing with life, Ephesians 2:3, among whom also we had all our conversation in times past in the lust of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the what? Mind. And were by nature the children of wrath. The very fact that you're born. You're adversarial. So let's ask this question again. Who are you? We're sons and daughters of the living God. And if you want to give your life over and submit to the authority and will of men, you will be ruled by what? Because listen, folks, let me give you a little word on history here, whether people realize it or not. Yahuwah may very well ordain these wicked rulers. But you know why? There's no better ruler over a wicked nation and a wicked people than what? The wicked. Only the psychopathic, narcissistic freakoids would come up with 2 million statutes that you can fill the whole country with as laws. It's only 10 laws. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Commit no harm. You committed no crime. How hard is it to run a government, folks? Do you know who you are? Are you spending every waking minute inside the matrix? We are obligated to spread the truth, and we must continue to do this. Once you know the sorcery's there, then you know how to defend yourself against it, right? Proverbs 19:2. Also, that the soul be without knowledge. It is not good. And he that hasteth with his feet, drags his feet, doesn't act. What is that last word? He sinneth. John 16:2. They shall put you out of the synagogues. Yea, the time cometh. And whosoever killeth you will think that he doeth God a service. And these things they will do unto you, because they have not known the Father nor me. If our accumulated life experiences are just lies, our first step towards knowledge is what? It's already destroyed. We have no way. Everything we believe is already an illusion. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee. Man, do you understand the importance of knowledge? There's nothing we can do about the projection and the decay of this country. There's absolutely nothing you can do. It's done. It would take 15 to 20 years to reverse this. And that would mean you would have to capture the mind of every single child growing up today and teach them a totally different way to change the course of this country. What happens when this current generation that is completely godless goes into office, or if it's allowed to go that long? Hey, listen, folks, the reality is before you. We completely failed this generation. They have zero knowledge. Their entire lives are in this thing. You watch them walking around with the phones. You watch them walking around with the iPads. Their entire life is inside this digital matrix. You want to know how to defeat this system? Quit living within its parameters, its guidelines it's set up for you. It's corrupt, folks.